Welcome back to Through the Veil podcast with Ellen Camille. This is the podcast where we seek to demystify, develop, and celebrate our spiritual gifts all through a faith-based lens. Today we're continuing our conversation with Jeffrey Olsen, hearing more about how his near-death experience changed his life and perspectives. Let's get back into it.
It was profound. It's been 30 years ago. The door hasn't always shut. I've had dreams and visions and visitations, if you will, and I feel very blessed. I was going to say lucky, but I feel blessed.
It's intentional.
Yeah, and
there's no luck to it at all. It's on purpose. It's a gift.
It's your soul's journey.
Yeah.
You guys are good. Yeah, and yet I'm not special. We're all special, and no one's special, and it's been quite a process, and it continues. Now it's funny. My book is called Knowing, and now I laugh and say I don't know anything, but I'm quite comfortable not knowing now.
Oxymoronic.
Yeah.
I want to point out and maybe dig a little deeper with some of the things here. One of the questions that Camille and I get all the time, or maybe one of the misconceptions that happens working in a field that is a little out there. Yeah. We have experiences and having gifts and insights. People are all the time are like, wow, what must it be like to be you? And I'm like, it's exactly like being you. It's rough. And I have not had my own near-death experience, but I have had moments where the veil has been parted, and I have had witnesses of those things, really distinct moments that are sacred to me and that are special to me, where I have had that perspective of love. I'm going to get emotional too about it. Dang it, the tissues are always so far away on the other side of the room. Moments where, like, being a witness of someone's true self as God sees them are transformational, right?
Yeah.
Just for you and also for them. And I count those experiences as some of the biggest blessings I've ever experienced. But then there's that moment of reconciliation where you have to crash down into earth, into life, and it's hard. And sorry, ugly cry. It's rough to try to take heaven and make it earth, and make earth heaven too, right? You have to find some kind of a balance, some kind of a common ground. That's a very challenging thing. I have a lot of people with near-death experiences. That's one of the hardest things that they do when they come back, right? They have to take that, and they have to reconcile it with every day, the messy life you still have to live.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
And integrating, I think I wandered around for 10 years just trying to figure it out, and wondering, where's the love here? I did have a profound experience in returning home, which gave me some huge realizations. I still had a 7-year-old surviving son, and he had seen me in the hospital, like he'd come and visit.
Yeah, that's trauma. That's trauma waiting to process.
Yeah, we would cry a lot, and I was so worried about him. Like, how's he going to deal with this? He's never going to remember his mom. And how am I going to raise him? And I was the rough and tumble dad, and here I was in a wheelchair. And the day came when it was time to go home, and I didn't even get to go to my own house. I had to go to my brother's house, and they'd put in a ramp, and they'd taken one of the extra rooms and put a hospital bed in, and I was going to have home health and physical therapy and the whole ordeal. But I was leaving the hospital. I was coming home, and my son had gone to stay with them. He was there. My brothers were awesome. They just took him in like he was one of their own, and he'd been going to school with his cousins, and it was time, and of course my brothers came to get me. They came to bring me out of the hospital, and they would literally have to pick me up and lift me and put me in an electric wheelchair. This arm's in a brace and the legs in a brace, and I had my one good left hand I could drive this electric wheelchair with. And that's how I was going home, colostomy bag and all. And I thought, how's he going to accept this? How is my son going to accept his father in this state? And he had been through everything I had. He had lost everything I lost. So, we're making our way home. I'm getting more and more worried. We pull into the driveway and I look and I see my son watching out the window, watching his big uncles, my brothers pick me up and put me out of the wheelchair. And I get in the wheelchair and I think, how is he possibly going to accept this? And how do I explain all this? And he came running out of the front door and he ran toward me and then he ran right past me. And I thought it's too much. He can't, gosh, the amputated leg. I mean, it was all, I looked like a grotesque monster, and he ran off and I thought it's too much. I'm just going to have to give him some time and some space because he had seen me in the hospital, but I was always under the covers and I hadn't shown him all that yet. And yet now we were on his turf. Like we were, I have to go to the grocery store. I mean, this was my worry. And so he ran off and I thought, well, I'll make my way to the ramp. And so I drove the electric wheelchair to the ramp and I began to turn it to go up the ramp. And I thought I would just check and see where he went. And as I looked, what he actually did is he had run past me and he ran across the street and he began knocking on all the neighbors' doors. And he started shouting, come out, my dad made it home, come see my dad.
Aww.
And my heart just melted. And he made his way around all the neighbors. Then he came and he actually threw himself on my lap, which just about killed me because I still had all the sutures and everything. And we had this interesting conversation. I mean, he was a Star Wars nut. And I said, look, they're going to make me a Darth Vader leg. I'm going to learn how to walk again. We're going to get better. I'm going to work really hard to get well. But are you going to be okay with this for a while? Because I'm going to need your help. And we still laugh. He's a grown man now. He's made me a grandfather. But he said, Dad, if you were nothing but a puddle of blood, I would still love you. But then the whole reason I share this is here I was in this realm. And I love your insights. Here I am in this realm, in a wheelchair, holding my surviving son. And yet in that moment, it was no less profound than being in the other realm, holding my son that passed in the arms of God. Mm. I mean, here, heaven was right here. There was nowhere to go. There was nothing to become. Mm. It was simply to be in that perfect moment and hold my boy and feel his unconditional love for me. And that was as profound as God's unconditional love for all of us. I mean, I realized, wow, heaven perhaps is right here. When you talk about how do we bring it together, there are moments when it's right here. And that was a profound learning for me to just experience that. And he, oh my gosh, he was so supportive, so good to me as I healed and got better. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful full circle moment. And I really relate to what you said about just because you've had these enlightening, amazing, otherworldly spiritual experiences, and near-death experience in your case, doesn't mean that you are somehow exempt from having to grieve the way anybody else would grieve. My son passed when he was 3 unexpectedly, and I've had some amazing moments feeling him being with me, even hugging me, sharing messages with me. I've had dreams where I've been able to touch his face and give him hugs. And that doesn't mean that I don't have to deal with this anymore. Like I am exempt and I'm not mortal and I don't have grief. And I'm so grateful for those moments. And I know when he's visiting because it's like, I don't miss him anymore and I don't feel grief for a second. It's like that grief is gone. But I still grieve. I still, there's that gap and I feel the gap and I wish I could always close the gap. It's there, I haven't ascended beyond this life.
We're here having the human experience. I love that you share that. And that's having a child pass, that's a deep wound. I mean, that's the deepest wound I believe I've ever had. And I've had many, and grief doesn't go away. You don't get over it. Right. You get used to it. Yeah. You get used to it.
You live with it.
You live with it. you live with it. And yet those brief moments when you feel them, it makes it worth it. And that they are right here. I mean, it's interesting. My oldest son, who was 7 years old at the accident, he didn't have a near-death experience. You know, he didn't have he didn't have anything. He came to me when he was a young man, probably 19, 20 years old. And like I say, we became very close. But he's like, Dad, I don't get it. Like, you know, by that time I was talking about what had happened to me. And he said, you got to say goodbye to Griffin. You got to say goodbye to Mom. And you talk of this higher power, God, you know, I mean, he said that, look, either you're deceived in some crazy way, you know, maybe the oxygen did shut off to your brain and you hallucinated all this, or you're making it up. And I don't know you to tell those kind of stories. Or he said, if there's a higher power, doesn't care about me. He said, I was a little boy. And he said, I beat my knuckles bloody on that thing you call prayer, that thing you call God, and I got nothing. You know, he said, I just wanted to feel my mom.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see her. So, you know, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, well, what do I do with that? I mean, you know, he's a young man. He's playing in a rock and roll band. There was stuff, you know, there was drugs involved. One of the guys was going to jail. Anyway, it drove me to my knees. I went home and I said, God, I'll give it all away. I've been given something. Anything I've experienced, just give him some light. And I don't profess to talk to God every day and get answers, but on this occasion, and it was interesting what came in, I was told, why are you judging your son? You know, judge not that you be not. I'm like, I'm not judging him. I'm worried about him. And the answer came in, oh, you are judging him. You think that your experience is better than his. You think that you would give your experience to him, and that, don't you know I've got him? Don't you know that your experience was perfect for the expansion of your soul, and his experience is perfect for the expansion of his soul, and they don't have to look alike. They don't have to be the same experience. It's like your job, Dad, and it's like you know, it was like a backhand across the head. Your job is to love him unconditionally. Stop judging his experience or his journey. And I'm like, he could go to jail. It's like, no, that would be perfect for him if he did. That's his experience. But I let go of all that and thought, I'm just going to love him. And he's amazing. I mean, he's the most compassionate man I know, you know, and he came to me, this was after a couple of years had gone by, and he was on a bit of a spiritual journey of his own, but he said, what if I'm God's hands? What if I'm God's light? You know, I mean, this thing you talk about, he said, what if I can just, you know, I can be the one that shows up for kids that don't get answers like I didn't. And he did. He got involved in Big Brother, Big Sisters. He was running an after-school rock and roll program where these 10 years old, you know, these 10-year-olds would get up and slam out Metallica, and he'd say, isn't it beautiful? They're expressing themselves. And he got to a point, he said, you know, human expression. He said, that's proof we're divine. You know, he came to the same conclusions, but in a much different way. In fact, he recently came to me and he said, Dad, I want to write a children's book. Will you collaborate with me to write a book for those kids that don't get answers or don't have a near-death experience or don't have the gift or don't see or don't hear? And he did a beautiful job. Anyway, yeah, there's different gifts, and his experience is different, but it was interesting to watch his journey. And I decided maybe I'm the weaker soul.
Right.
You know,
I'm the one
I
who
had
needs
to have all this support.
Bigger answers.
Yeah,
I
he's
think
got
that's
bigger answers.
I think that's a really, really important subject. I mean, if we back up even and take this from the perspective of faith, there are so many people who feel like God has given them nothing. Like they have prayed, they have done all the things, all the soul searching, all the deep questioning, all the pondering, all the praying, all the scripture reading, like going to church, you know, the true depth of the darkness of the soul moments. And they're like, the question is why? Why not me? Why
Yeah.
not me? Why does somebody else get this? And it's like those questions are beautiful and they're natural. And we can't ever move through to deeper understanding without processing those first. They show us that we're in the messy middle still. They show us that we're in that Gethsemane. And you
Yeah.
have to be in Gethsemane in order to be transcendent, right? You have to experience that because it's connective, because it's growing, because it's teaching. Growth is intrinsically uncomfortable. Like it is the discomfort to change. I was having this conversation with my sweet little 11-year-old who is neurodivergent and has a lot of problems with his peers and ended up making a really poor choice that had negative impacts over the weekend. And he was like, why does it have to hurt so much? And I was like, because you're becoming a butterfly. And the caterpillar has to completely come undone in order to become a butterfly. He has to become primordial goo. And people from the outside don't see that transformation. Like we don't see the process that each person is going through in their life, but everyone will go through it. And if you haven't gone through it yet, it's coming because you can't get to where you're going without going through that maybe a couple of times. And it looks different for every person. And it's like, to be incredibly trite, it's like that Footprints poem. I had somebody in a session just last week where they were like, I've been alone through this hard thing that I've been going through this loss that I've been going through. And I was like, you weren't alone. They were carrying you. You didn't realize it. But there will become a time where you will look back and you will see, you will feel, and you will understand. They were carrying you.
Yeah. So true. So true. I went through something difficult fairly recently, and I was like, why have you, why?
Forsaken me
Because I
now.
was feeling nothing. I wasn't feeling anything
Yeah.
from God. I wasn't feeling anything from my angels. And I do believe those that pass, that we love, become our guardian angels. And I'm like, where
Right.
are you all? And the whisper came, oh, this time you get to tread the winepress alone.
Yeah.
And therefore that's your growth, and yet they've come back in, it was only a moment. I think when we pass, I think when we graduate, I just call it graduating from life, but I think we're going to say, wow, that went really quickly, even though here it feels like an eternity. And I think we'll laugh and we'll cry and we'll say, wow, that was a trip. And the only question may be, well, what did you learn? What did you learn being you in that third dimension as we watched over you and we allowed you to have your experience,
I think there's something else that's a really interesting aspect to take with this. One of the most interesting things, which you kind of hit on earlier, that I've learned after a decade of doing spirit communication and developing these gifts that I have with the other side, is that it's all relational. It's all love-based, like these experiences you have. Love is the grand movement. It is the particle that enlivens the universe, right? It is faith. Love is faith.
Yeah.
And the second is that it's all about relationships with each other. Like that's the point and the purpose you were talking about with your son. And it's like, that's why we're still here. That's what we're meant to do to help each other. That's what they're doing with us on the other side, is that the connectivity of being human. And when we're stuck in those dark moments, we have that choice. It's always about the choice that we make, about what we perceive, what we choose to see, how we choose to see the world around us. And we can choose to turn inward and focus on the depths of the darkness, or we can choose to turn outward and expand. And if we can do that, which is incredibly hard, like that is not an easy principle to embody, that's like a Jesus moment, right? You can be in your Gethsemane of pain and you can wallow in it and you can sit in despair and you can ask the questions, or you can turn out and say, but how can I help? What can I do to share? How can I grow someone else because I can now understand? in a different way, or give in a different way, or be in a different way. And when that happens, that is when transformation occurs. That is when relationships are made and formed. And that is when we really, truly connect and help other people. And I think that if we can just like boil that down, it's not a simple thing. And we have to choose to do that over and over and over again. And that's love. Love is the choice that we make to turn outward and see something bigger than our tiny perspective, but see something greater, see someone else who's also doing something hard, just like you are. That's the magic. That's the gift.
Yeah. And I think the more we practice that, the more we develop the ability to see them through God's eyes, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a gift that's given to us in a moment to go away, but it's something we can build up, we can practice, we can strengthen.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, Spencer, when he was writing this book, when we were working on it, he came to some interesting conclusions. Just like you said, he's like, it's the relationships.
Yeah.
They're not, even though he might not be a, God, spirit world guy, he's like, hey, they live on within me. And the way I conduct my life honors their memory. And because that's true, then they're always with me. And even grief. I mean, you said it's all love. He came to this profound conclusion that grief may be the most magnificent manifestation of love.
Right.
Even though it hurts, grief is a deep, deep emotion, but it's love. We only grieve because we loved. And and that's, it's all love. It's all love, no matter how diverse, no matter how we see it, it's all love.
Yeah, I love that. Even with people that haven't, we're grieving situations of people that haven't died. We're grieving because our kid's going through something. We're grieving missed opportunities. We're grieving because we love. And then, ultimately we have that choice. Am I going to trust like you did? Am I going to put the baby down and give him to God? Or am I going to trust that I can give God these broken pieces and he can make something beautiful with them?
Right.
Yeah. Boy, trust. There's a big one. Trust.
Yeah. Ooh, lesson of my life.
I mean, at a huge cosmic level, to trust. Yes. That is a beautiful thing. I've always looked at the word trust, and in the middle of it is a us, us. And whether one says, well, that's me and my partner, or that's me and God, or that's all of us, the collective oneness that we are. But to trust that, that's a huge step, and that's where peace might be found as well.
Yeah.
There's an interesting aspect of trust, which again comes to will. And your pivotal moment of understanding with God, where you understand it all comes down to choice. It all comes down to will. It's the sovereignty that sets us apart from every other existence and an item in the universe, right? We have this incredible capacity to self-govern. And it's a beautiful synchronicity that is a gift given as a divine nature, as a divine right, as spirit children of a God. And then he gives us this gift, and then to be able to return that gift back. Like that is the ultimate path, is to hand it back to God and say, you gave this to me and I give this to you. And we trust each other in this thing. He's already given us the trust that was intrinsic in giving us the ability to choose that. And we have to see and love enough that we can then take that gift back and say, and now I give it to you. Will you make something of this?
Beautiful. Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for being with us. This is such a cool conversation. It's just, I've never had a near-death experience, but I feel this like kinship with people that have, because they've had so many through the veil experiences, that it makes me feel less, I guess, unusual. And it makes me feel like, there's a lot of people that I think, like you talked about with that doctor, I think people experience things, they don't talk about it. That's why we started this podcast, to legitimize and normalize and make a safe space, because I think it's really happening a lot. And a lot of people are having these stories and they're not sharing them because they don't want to sound weird, but because we all have relationships and we all have loved ones that have crossed over. I think I think there's just an abundance of these experiences, and the stories being shared is a small percentage of what's actually going on.
Oh yeah, I think it's far more common than we realize.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful work you both are doing in bringing it to the forefront and talking about it. And I love that, yet you don't, neither of you have had what they call a near-death experience. You don't have to have a near-death experience to connect
Right.
to the divine. You don't have to have a near-death experience to have a gift. I'll be interviewed and people say, well, what gift did you bring back from your near-death experience? Tell us the future. Are you a psychic? And I'm like, I'm not making light of that. Many people do come back with expanded gifts, but for me, no. I suppose I came back with a greater capacity to love.
That is a gift.
That is a gift. Yeah.
Yeah. I experienced something that was unconditional love. Pure and simple. And so, gosh, if I can show up as one little bit of that for one person, then that may be the purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but I love what you're doing. This is incredible work, and keep going. Keep going. Let me know how I can support you in any way too.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to pick something apart that you just said here, because I have this conversation with my husband all the time, and he's like, I don't have any gifts. Like, what do I have to give? And I'm like, you misunderstand. People that come back, they don't come back with something more, something special. They come back with an expanded understanding of something. Mm-hmm. They've come back with an enriched perspective. And everybody has the capacity for enriched perspective. Sometimes you have to choose it. Sometimes you have to work really hard at it. Sometimes it's given to you. But it is something that we all have the capacity for. And gifts aren't always flashy or showy. Gifts are meant to be given. They're meant to be building. They are meant to be shared. And love is possibly the most powerful. Faith, don't undermine that. Like, that's amazing. I'm a skeptic at heart. Like, I'm a hard-headed, like, troubled child. God has to work so hard with me. It's like, yeah, I've had to have things that have hard turned me, given me 180-degree redirectives, because I didn't trust, because I didn't have faith, because I couldn't make that choice by myself. Don't undermine the power of that as a gift. The gift of giving love to someone who hasn't had it, or seeing them and appreciating them, who's never experienced it or never experienced the fullness of it, that changes people's lives. That is the most life-changing thing. Mm. And then they can go experience that and share that with someone else, right? I love the analogy of a candle. Like, when you have a candle lit and then you light another candle, it doesn't take away from the fire of that candle. You just share it. It just grows light. And that is what we're meant to do with all of the gifts that we've been given, whether they're big or they're small. Mm-hmm. You just share light. And if you can share light, it's a good thing. Like, it's a good thing.
Well, even the master said that you are the light of the world. Don't hide it. We say, oh, well, he's the light of the world. Well, no, he says, no, you are. You're the light of the world. I love what you're showing. And I'll share this experience briefly, then we'll wrap up. But I was coming out of work one day, and I used to work downtown Salt Lake City. There was homeless people there, and I came out of work, and there's this homeless guy, and he comes up and he's telling me his story, and he obviously wants money, and I'm like, look, I got to go, and I did. I got a whisper, I got a nudge that said, look at him. Look at him. And I looked right in his eyes as he was carrying on. And, suddenly I saw my brothers. It's like, I saw a brother in this stranger, if you will. And my heart opened up. It's like I had compassion to just listen. And then as it continued, suddenly I saw me. Suddenly he became me. And I'm like, gosh, had I not had the support I had, had I not had health insurance, it's like I would have been the guy strung out on the street corner wondering what happened.
Yeah.
And my compassion expanded. And then as I looked at him, he became divine. He became God, if you will. Here I am looking into the face of the divine. And I just embraced him. I threw my arms around him, and I almost heard myself say it. I said, I know who you are. Mm. And he said back to me, he said, I know that you know. And there we are, two guys crying together in the streets of the city. And I'd have given him everything in my wallet at that point. And he no longer wanted it. He just wanted to be seen, recognized. And, I think of that verse of beware of how you treat strangers, for you may be entertaining angels unaware.
Wow.
And he was certainly an angel to me. I thought, wow, I am so blessed. There's the old Scottish term, but for the grace of God, there go I. And I realized how blessed I was to have the advantages that I had had. And I realized how difficult it is for someone like him who walks a journey alone, who truly walks a journey alone. And that veil gets thin, even sometimes with strangers that have body odor and alcohol on their breath. And yet, wow, I've met God in a pew, but I've met God in the gutter too. And we are all divine. That's the big takeaway from my near-death experiences. We are all divine. We are all so known and so loved. And our experiences are diverse. We're all so unique. And yet each and every one of us is a manifestation of God in our own unique way. And it's a beautiful thing if we can just, embrace each other, lock arms, and walk each other home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's powerful. Thank you so much for sharing and giving your time and your busy evening to have a crazy conversation with two strangers.
It's a great conversation, and thank you. I am honored. And again, let me know how I can support your work. You're doing a beautiful thing. And cherish your gifts and develop them. Everybody has them, and everybody has diverse gifts. That's why the head can say, I have no need for the feet or the hands. Yeah. I mean, we all bring our unique part, and together we are one. We truly are one.
One body.
One body. And there's so much going on in the world today. So much division, so much anger, so much war. I mean, it's crazy. But if we can illuminate peace some way, I'm working with some friends and dear people to me on a movement of illuminating peace, like literally taking that light within us, like you said, and illuminating out in a way where we can create peace by being peace, by being bold, being brave, and being peace in a world that loves conflict and loves to pick a side and dig in. And maybe we can realize that we're more alike than we are different, regardless of culture, race, gender, whatever, that we really do want the same things, and we're capable of it if we can just put aside our differences and come together. What's the prayer? Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. It may be up to us. Maybe we get to sort it out and create more love and more heaven here.
Jeff, tell us really quick, where can people find your book? What is your book called? Where can they find your book?
Your website.
Where can they get in contact with you?
Oh gosh, I've become a recluse. But the books, you can find the books on Amazon. The personal memoir that includes the near-death experience and beyond is called Knowing, and it's available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And then the children's book that we recently did in collaboration with my son Spencer, that's called Where Are You? And it's written from that 7-year-old perspective. Like, I looked in the kitchen, I looked in the garden, I looked in the sky. Where are you? And it's a beautiful book. We thought we were writing a children's book, but it turns out it's a book for anybody who misses somebody. And that's available on Amazon as well. The website is envoypublishing.com, ENVOY publishing.com. And I do have an Instagram account. I typically post pictures of sunsets or sunrises, but that's just Jeffrey C. Olsen. Jeffrey is ERY, C is my middle initial, and Olsen is OLSEN.
So is Envoy Publishing your own publishing house?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Publishing house, yes.
Beautiful. Well, we'll try to link some of those down in the show notes below. So if you have interest in learning more about Jeff or his experience or this wonderful children's book, which I'm going to go purchase right now, find those down below. As always, you can connect with Camille and I through our website, which is throughtheveiledpodcast.com. If you'd like to participate in any of our offerings, if you have interest about our retreat or the workshops coming up at the end of the year in September, reach out. More information will be forthcoming about that as we finalize all of the details. If you would like to be on the show, you have a story to share, or have any questions, we love interaction from our audience. So drop us a line, send us an email. We'll see you guys next time.